Hello, 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 and welcome back. It's Frantz Kantor here. Welcome back to the Secret Samurai store. This is, I'm Frantz Kantor, that's me, and I'm an illustrator and a cartoonist and a teacher and all this sort of stuff. I'm here at the Australian Cartoon Museum, and I'm here with the president,
Jim Bridges,
the CEO, president of the Australian Cartoon Museum. And one of your favourite subjects that you like to collect and study is caricatures of people.
Correct.
Why do you like caricatures so much?
Because they tell me more about the person than photos.
Yes.
And portrait paintings.
Today we've got a subject that's very interesting to draw. We're using this photograph. This actor is Toshiro Mifune, who is no longer with us, sadly, but they tout him as like Japan's answer to John Wayne. So you will appreciate that in Japan there's no westerns, but they have things that influence westerns.
Like Easterns.
They have Easterns. They have, what was it, the Seven Samurai that inspired the Magnificent Seven, right? And also Bug's Life.
And Bug's Life, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of other movies.
Probably a lot of other movies, yeah. There's been about 4 or 5 Magnificent Sevens. So he's a really iconic Japanese star. He always had this sort of stern look, although he had, a great sense of humor as well. He's a very powerful actor. And he was actually touted, they asked him to play Obi-Wan Kenobi at one stage, or Darth Vader.
Both?
Yeah.
He turned them down.
Well, yeah. But, this is his signature look, right? So it's like it's a one...
The frown, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is from... That's from the East Meets West, I think, the movie with Bronson. And he's a...
Is that where he cuts the fly in half?
Yes.
The fly goes past, goes...
This is him from Seven Samurai, a bit younger. So, Toshiro Mifune was Akira Kurosawa, the director's, probably one of his most favourite actors to deal with.
Was.
Because he took...
Definitely.
Yeah, because he took really the direction and then sort of built upon it in an incredible amount of characterization and things.
16 films together.
This film is from Yojimbo. One of the directions of Yojimbo was to give the character a signature look. So as John Wayne had this rolling gait of walking, that was his signature look, his signature action or personality that came out in the actions.
He used to do
so
he
had
exercise.
This sort of shrug.
He had a neck
like
exercise.
Like an itch.
And then he'd sort of lift his shoulders both up independently and then walk off.
Yeah, which is kind of like
with a grunt, of course.
Yeah, it's sort of like a grudgingly getting involved in swordplay because he can't take it anymore. They're actually threatening innocent people and things like that, and and he sort of comes to the rescue grudgingly. He doesn't want to do it.
He's a grump, a real big grump.
Don't annoy me. I'm going to have to kill you. So that's it. And this is the expressions. Were really iconic, and it's very influential to other Japanese actors, obviously in this genre. Also,
and Sergio
American
Leone.
Sergio Leone. Yeah. Man with No Name is Yojimbo.
That's right.
So it's a very, very... This is the subject. What I wanted to say today is because we're doing a caricature yet again, just working out that guy looks like the bad guy, one of the stupid guy from Mulan. I'm trying to work out some shapes to play with here that would be fun to do, It's not so much looking at something like this and coming up with a round shape or a squarish shape or something like that. That's too obvious. But what if you actually twisted things even more? Kind of like this. I bought this today. This is excuse the colour. It's not what you think it is. Fido didn't. No,
it suffers from anemia.
Yeah, it's not what you think it is. I'm just thinking, like, to do a caricature, right? You have the ability to really twist things around with a pencil, like you would with clay. So if you kind of think of the process of caricature as playing with Play-Doh or plasticine or something, and really, pushing things out, right? You can go berserk. You can go crazy with shapes and distortions and things like a Gerald scarf or something.
Plasticity.
Yeah, plasticine. But anyway, that's the concept. So, it's kind of built on the appreciation of shapes. Don't arbitrarily pick shapes and make the features fit the shape, but try to keep it within some sort of a general understanding, a general appreciation of the shapes that are already there, that are evident. Okay? So what you're doing is looking at it and then expanding it with the process of simplification, which is building up difficult things to draw made up of simple objects, simple shapes. And then you expand on that by drawing the details. So you exaggerate the details now because you've moved the goalposts. So there's a couple of different lights happening in here. There's one like a fill light, which is basically creating shadows on the form coming down this way. So it's, the light's coming down favoring the top of the object, top of the head. There's also a very strong side light, which is kind of nice. We can play with that. That's very nice. It's, we've got some white paint pens which are very stark against the brown paper. Right, so I'm kind of looking at this concept here, which is sort of based on the face, but kind of making it more angular and picking on topics, picking on aspects, thank you, features, like the ear and the nose and things like that, and just sort of dragging the form out, bringing it out a little bit. I might even like to play with the top knot of Yojimbo. But I've kind of worked it out roughly where I'm going with this in the pencil on the toned paper. So again, the materials that I'm using is like a brown pencil, which is a terracotta, a white pencil, and a black pencil. So pencils, you get what you pay for. The pigment is like the more expensive the pencil, the better the pigment. So it's softer and it has more color in it, and it's easier to play with on paper. This paper is a Strathmore. It's a grey. It's slightly warm, but it's going to handle a drawing process using color tones, which comes from the terracotta. So it kind of approximates a skin tone. So we like to think that Da Vinci did several. Well, probably he was pretty lazy. Probably one drawing of Mona Lisa, and he based the painting of the Mona Lisa from that drawing. And the drawing, of course, is a painting. The drawing ended up as a painting, so there would be color notes in the sketch. How do we know there's a sketch? Because there's apparently two Mona Lisas. There's one which is a copy of his. He did that quite often. He did that with the Last Supper. Someone wanted a copy of the Last Supper, and it's attached to a wall. So it's a wall. And he said, I'll do another one. And he did another one. And that's how we know that the colours of the original Last Supper are all wrong, because they've been retouched over the years.
Yeah, that copy is in Belgium, I think.
Yes, you're quite right. It is indeed.
In a
chapel.
In a friary, yeah.
Yeah, where they fry their eggs. I feel like a friary now.
You're despicable.
10 points if you know where that's from. It's supposed to be you're despicable because Daffy had a...
yeah, but every time I do it properly, I end up with it. You get a lot of spit all over the drawing.
Yeah, not as bad as Thilvethda.
Yeah,
interesting story about Thilvethda. I don't know whether this is a urban legend or what, but I'll tell you this story anyway. You may decide to correct me later on.
You may decide.
Yeah. So you know what the story is? Can you guess?
I'm all ears.
When Mel Blanc was coming up with the voices to the drawings of the cartoon characters, the Bugs Bunny show. You know, the Looney Tunes, actually, before the Bugs Bunny show.
He had a really bad cold.
No, he had... No, that's not the story. The story is this. One of the designs of Sylvester had the tongue sticking out, which happens to a lot of cats. They lose their front teeth and they start to drool. Happened to my cat growing up. You know, he'd be sitting on your lap and you'd be moving him and there'd be a big puddle of drool on your leg where he sat. So it happens to a lot of cats that for some reason, I don't know, they lose their front teeth and their tongue sticks out. So he looked at this drawing and the original drawing of Sylvester, and he had the tongue slightly protruding from his face. And Mel, as soon as he saw that, he did the same thing. And of course, the rest is history. It's like a embedded trope now that Sylvester have a tongue, thufferin, thuckatath. You know,
you'll have. I mean, I've got a lot of Mel Blanc stories too. You'll have to draw Mel one day, and we'll tell these stories.
Yeah. Mel is the
man with 1,000 voices.
Yes, that was his name, indeed. Incredibly iconic and really, was so important to me growing up. Very, very important. So these are things that come from your childhood, like for me, like a lot of the Bugs Bunny show. I love the energy, animation, just the sheer ability. Like the 12 Principles of Animation came from the 9 Wise Men of Disney, perhaps, but that's just formulating something that people have been using for many, many years, and building up on it. It's almost like a dare. It's like a playground dare. Like, I did more squash and stretch than you. Oh, really? Well, watch this. And then, we just sort of expand on it. And one day you get Tex Avery, and then everybody gives up. And thinks, well, that's not fair. You bring in the big guns.
Yeah. Everything's better in Texas.
Yeah.
Now, I think you're being quite radical in this drawing.
Why?
Because my mental iconic image of this actor is that he's very strong.
Yeah.
It's not just the fierceness and the suppressed anger he alludes to, but it's volcanic, Anyway, but he's very blocky. He's a blocky sort of character. He's not a thin guy. He's sort of shortish but really strong.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're stretching his face,
I'm just doing it just to see if it will work.
Yeah, I think it's quite a radical approach.
Yeah. Well, like the silly putty
I think you're being very brave doing this.
Okay.
I
don't know. Maybe I'm being too silly, but I just thought it'd be fun to see what I can do. I was talking to...
Because as you said, he looks like the guy in Mulan.
Well, yeah, that sort of angular, long sort of thing and exaggerated features. I mean, you could just go berserk with it. You've got the eyebrows and then the cheekbones and the nose and then the lips.
He's forever scowling
and the jaw. So you could go berserk with it.
In Yojimbo and films like Redbeard, he's just a cranky old bloke,
Yeah.
Who's also a killing machine.
He is, yeah, but he has a moral code that you're not aware of, and certainly the bullies are not appreciative of.
No.
So they get their comeuppance.
He also doesn't want to kill people, and also he seems
it's annoying to him.
It's annoying. Yeah, it's not.
It's interfering
it's not exactly
with his
boring to
his
him,
lunch.
Yeah, that's right.
Puts him off his lunch. He's all about, like, he's in Yojimbo is like he's hearing all this clatter and stuff, and everyone's scared, and it starts to get under his skin,
Yeah,
At first he walks away.
Fear gets to you.
They challenge him, he's not interested.
Yeah.
And he walks away a few times, and then at the end, it's like, right, that's it. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to enjoy my lunch while you're alive, so come on, let's go, so I can finish my lunch. That's exactly what it's about. Sort of getting in the way of his comfort, his thing. So he has a moral compass, but he doesn't make a big thing of it.
Yeah.
He's obviously doing that for, to right wrongs, and which is exactly like John Wayne. John Wayne, though, doesn't really. It's just something you don't mess with John Wayne, because he just looks like a moral compass. When he walks like a moral compass. He has that sort of rolling gait, like you imagine a compass walking
John
down
Wayne,
the street.
As a moral rolling compass.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But you can just tell this is not some. He won't quit. This guy don't blend into the scenery.
In that American film where there's a French actress in it. There's all sorts of people in it. It's a remake of Stagecoach, sort of, isn't it? That film is in the American one.
You're talking about Red Sun or
I don't know.
East meets East. It's not East meets West. It's Red Sun.
Yeah, Red Sun.
Yeah.
And he's standing there, and because he doesn't have a gun, they're all looking at him and saying, "God, this guy's useless," And a fly goes past, and he goes with his sword, and of course it cuts it in half, and they're all wow.
Well, he's a samurai, and he goes after this kidnapped victim.
Speaking of samurai,
like a princess.
In the Magnificent Seven, one of the people who stood out in all that crowd, was James Coburn. And James Coburn was the sort of tall, lanky guy who just used knives. He'd throw knives and get people. And of course, they all thought he was an idiot because a gun's quicker and all that sort of stuff. But he was really effective with his knives.
Well, if you look at the original Magnificent Seven, he's based on this master swordsman who's given up.
Yeah.
And he's now involved in the Magnificent Seven. They want him, but he doesn't want to be a member. But he.
Hang on. Are you talking about Seven Samurai now, or?
Well, both.
Okay.
He's a master gunman or master with a knife or something, and they want to get him as one of the seven, and he doesn't want to join because he knows his time is up. There's a feeling like he's so sick of killing people that everybody and their dog come up and challenges him.
Yeah, well
that's he's
the
just
curse,
so fed up.
isn't it?
And it's both in the Samurai and in Magnificent Seven, the same thing.
Yeah.
So
there's always someone who wants to be faster than you and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing, And the Robert Vaughn character, of course, takes it even more. He starts to have the shakes because he's been jaded so much by this.
The film The Shootist is all about that. That's his last film. He was dying of cancer. John Wayne was dying of cancer.
Yeah, so it's a common, it's a common story, common trope. I think
he
a
was the
Western
bravest
style trope.
of them all.
Liberty Valance.
The man who shot Liberty Valance.
Well, it's the same thing, like
anyway,
fighting bullies. But they're all based on the same thing.
The
code of honor. The code of honor. And this man really exemplified that to a lot of people. The samurai were revered in Japanese culture because of their sense of honor. They worked tirelessly for the emperor.
And in Japanese business.
Samurai in Japanese business?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The code of the samurai. It's one of the main premises of how they do business, how they work. You work for the company. You give it all, like you're working for the emperor.
Yeah, but there's personal honor, not just the emperor's honor. It's personal honor as well. So if the emperor turns out to be an idiot, then is no longer worth dying for. So that's one of the things that it's the code of the knight. The the same thing. The Knights Templar, maybe not the Knights Templar, but the Knight is
Bushido?
supposed to.
The Bushido?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a code of honor to protect the weak, the innocent.
Ah.
You know,
The
that
Knights
sort of
were
thing.
bold.
Yeah,
Well, let's get back to...
except Camelot. That was a silly place.
I know, it sounds a bit bizarre.
So
Doesn't
what I'm
Camelot-
doing
that's
here
how
is I'm
pretty
trying
bizarre.
to stylize a lot of these. I'm keeping an eye on the direction of the lines in the reference, right? So also light and shade, a little bit of because I'm distorting the face. You still have to keep in mind with the idea of the basic forms underneath. So you've got the skull to contend with. Okay, so the skull has a definite form. However you want to block it out, that's the basic structure. So that skull features have to pop out in parts of the face, particularly where the skin is stretched tight around the brow, the cheekbones, etc. So those are things that you want to show up, whether or not they catch the light in that particular spot or not. Doesn't matter, right? This is entirely experimental. I don't know whether this will work because, there's a chance that I've taken made the shape too simple. In which case we'll just use this. We'll just
Put a couple of eyes in. He's angry, but...
hello. He's whoa. This is we'll make him angry. We'll give him some angry eyes. How about that? There we go. So make him angry. Maybe some. That's my caricature. Get back to it. All right. So
So why did you decide to draw him today?
I really, it's not particular. I don't pick on subjects because they're anniversaries or anything like that. It just occurs to me, and I think, this would be a good challenge for me to look at doing his face. But I want to do something different with the face. I want to do something more than just create an impression of the likeness. Maybe I can pull the face like silly putty. That's why I've got the silly putty.
But he has a lot of anger in him. A lot of anger.
We all have anger in us.
Yeah, I know, but the reason you're you and I'm me and he's he is because he's able to express that anger in such a way in front of a camera like no one else can. If you haven't yet, people who are checking this out, if you haven't yet seen The Seventh Samurai, you have to see it. It's an extraordinary film that...
Well, the seven...
And his performance in particular, there's never been a performance like it, where he is just running on pure animalistic energy, and his anger is shocking to see, but he's channeling it into action.
Well, there's also grief and guilt.
Yeah,
because he's also coming from. We've got spoilers. Watch yourself. He's actually one of the village. He's not one of those villages, but he is from a village, so he knows the real reason why, they have samurai swords and armor, because they've actually killed samurais. There was from war. They've actually picked the bones of the samurais from battles and things like that. There's a lot of stuff like that. So there's guilt involved, and it's not just a matter of
but his performance,
good versus bad.
Also, the way it's shot, you have to see the film several times just to actually realise what the hell's going on. Because
he uses moving composition.
And a lot of it's shot in the rain.
Yeah. Well, rain, he uses elements. Kurosawa uses elements as a character.
Yeah.
So rain, clouds, waterfalls, etc. They're part of the natural environment. They're always present, and he uses that as an undeniable prescient force in the films. It's really quite interesting to study his work, as a filmmaker. or as an artist, to see how powerful his vision is on screen. You know, he's a remarkable director.
Yeah.
And this guy was one of his collaborators in that vision.
That's right.
And
definitely a collaborator.
Yeah, definitely collaborate.
And both men, especially Kurosawa, just says he couldn't have done what he ended up doing without this guy. He just couldn't have.
Yeah.
And I mean, they made a gangster film. I think it was the first gangster film made in
Japan.
And what do they call them?
Yakuza.
Yakuza.
Yeah.
And of course, like the gangster movies made in America, the actual gangsters started to copy what they saw on the screen. And his performance was so explosive and angry. You really feel frightened. You know, you're sitting in the audience and his anger is so much, it comes off the screen, and you sort of say, you know it's a film, but you're still scared, you know? And you generally feel scared in a horror film, not an action film, you know?
Well, it depends on the person, the presence that forgot who we're talking about now.
Anyway, like what's his story? He was born in 1920, and he was born in China.
Yes.
And there was a whole bunch of people Japanese people living in China, and his father ran a photography shop.
Yep.
And he helped his father. And then when the war came along, he was in the Air Force, but he did aerial photography.
Yep.
And of course, when he after the war, he got a job. He got a job at Toho as Toho is the biggest Japanese film company.
Toho is responsible for like Godzilla. They were the studio that created Godzilla.
Yeah. Well,
they're like Disney in Japan.
If you ask the average person about Japanese films, most of them will come up with that, because you see the logo, the burning light, and all that sort of stuff in the beginning of the film of Toho. And he was assistant photographer on movies, and then they had a strike, and a lot of actors left Toho, and they formed their own studio, and so there was a huge hole, and they had to be replaced with new actors. And of course, they had a competition, and 4,000 people applied to be actors. And he didn't apply, but his mates did. They applied for him, and they put a photo in and all that sort of stuff. And out of those 4,000 people, only about 48 people got the job, and he was one of them. And how he actually got his first film role was he auditioned, and he did this really. He had to be angry. He had the director said, "Okay, now mime anger."
Yeah.
And he just thought about all the terrible things he'd experienced in the Second World War. And he just all combined it in one go, and it all just came out.
Emotional
it all
explosion.
Just really exploded, and he just blew everybody away, you know. Anyway, so
well, there's a poignant part in the Seven Samurai where they're thinking of giving up. Everyone's thinking of giving up.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's there. He's not one of the Seven Samurai. Well, he is, but they don't want him there because they think he's a bit of a goose. The reason why they stay and they fight is because of him.
Yeah.
His passion.
Yeah.
At the moment where they're all thinking they're giving up.
Yeah.
His passion drives the seven. You know, they inspire them. In fact, the famous guy, they feel so ashamed that they're not. They don't feel this passion of honor. You know, and remember, he comes from a small village, so he's got this shame buried deep inside him, and this is something that comes through irrespective of the language. This is the power of his performance. You know, I did not see any of this in English. There was no English subtitles, nothing when I first saw it in college.
Me too.
I was so overwhelmed by this man's performance.
Oh, it's
just incredible.
I think it's the most physical performance ever in cinema.
Yeah. So then I started to consume a lot of his films as much as I could. There wasn't a lot of that around. We didn't have DVDs and things, but wherever I could, if I could sneak into a Japanese film festival that had, like Throne of Blood was another favorite of mine. There's a lot of, there's quite a few of them. It doesn't stop. One, you can't really say one is more. Do I have a favourite of his? No, I don't.
Throne of Blood is based on Macbeth.
Yeah, one of the most powerful.
And the ending,
oh my God,
the ending of the film is extraordinary. It's it's just unbelievable what you're looking at.
And like combining that almost the medieval grandeur of Kurosawa's filmmaking, where he combines the elements and the sets and the people become almost like a natural force.
Yeah.
Like this army of bodies of people. It's just extraordinary. It's an extraordinary film. There's nothing like it. I think, directors in the West would sort of look at that and sort of hide in shame.
Well, they wouldn't know how they'd done it in the first place. It's almost like they're using
you're looking
techniques,
Yeah, in a way. Well, I don't know whether it's secret techniques, it's film techniques.
Yeah.
But he had, Kurosawa had this incredible storytelling
anyway, they're
methodology.
They're a great partnership, like John Ford and John Wayne. Definitely, there's no worries about that. Although I think if John Wayne didn't exist, John Ford would still be a great director.
Yeah.
It's just that John Wayne and John Ford both became associated with the Western. Although,
in a way, this is the Japanese version of the Western.
The Eastern. Yeah, and anyway, so and then Kurosawa saw him in a
commercial,
in an audience. In an audition.
Oh, okay.
And he didn't get the audition. He didn't pass it. They didn't want him.
But he wanted him for a role in another.
Kurosawa saw it and he just couldn't believe what he was seeing.
Yeah.
And then he got him involved, and I think the first film was The Seventh Samurai, wasn't it? But before he did it, before Mifune did it, he actually studied wild lions. And if you think about that, especially in movies like Yojimbo and stuff, he's got this worn-out old experience about him. You know what I mean? This battle-worn experience that lions have, you know what I mean? Although apparently women, the female lions do all the bulk of the hunting.
Yeah.
But he watched he watched wild lions and lots of footage of them and stuff, and that's where he got his inspiration. And plus all that experience, that frustrated anger in him, and he started to pad around like a lion, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, almost, actually, it's an interesting thing, the walk. Yojimbo's walk and John Wayne's walk, they're just sort of like, they look like they're tired and worn out.
Yeah.
And, like a lion. If you ever see a male lion, not so much the female, the male lion just looks like, he couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
He's not going to chase you. But, my God, if you get him angry, oh, my God, the explosion and the amount of energy and muscle that just hits you, you're finished. There's no chance. You can't survive an attack like that. So that's really pretty much, it's pretty much Toshiro Mifune. He is a lion. He is that.
Yeah, I think it's a retelling story. When I read that, I said yes straight away. Because that's.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see him studying that.
But he's not a lone wolf, he's a lone lion.
Yeah, lone wolf.
Yeah. You get the connection.
Yeah, so the history of Japanese cinema, for me, has been like monsters and samurai. And
Astro Boy.
And Astro Boy, and robots. So,
Giganto. Yeah,
Tetsujin 28, sorry.
Yeah.
Tetsujin 28 is Gigantor. We call him Gigantor, I don't know why.
They made
'Cause
16 films together.
Who, Gigantor?
No,
Toshiro
Kurosawa
Mifune and Kurosawa?
And the last film they made was Redbeard, where he plays a real grumpy doctor
Yep.
who's it's an extension of Yojimbo, the role, you know. And it'd be a great double bill to see Yojimbo first and then followed by Redbeard, but it'd go for 8 hours because they're long films. They're 3 hours each at least, aren't they? 3.5 hours each.
Yeah.
Anyway, the film took 2 years to shoot, and by this time Mifune had his own company, his own film company, producing films and him playing his own roles. But Kurosawa wanted him to grow a beard, his own beard, and of course because it took 2 years to do the shoot. I don't know the circumstances. It stopped Mifune playing other roles because he couldn't shave the beard off, and he complained, and then that split them up. That became an argument that sort of they went their separate ways over this. You know, Mifune lost money, although the Redbeard made money. It sort of helped it a bit, but I think the relationship had run out of steam because. And they didn't really talk to each other for quite a while. And I think Kurosawa actually publicly criticised him.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. Which wouldn't have helped.
No. Don't criticise the lion.
Yeah.
Is it very
But his
powerful?
movies are like he just has this compressed energy, and you're sitting in the audience worrying how much of it's going to come out, you know, because you know he's got it in him. And of course, when you actually see it, I mean, I don't think he did as much in his other films as far as the running about, the incredible energy he shows in Seven Samurai, but he still had this explosive temper, yeah. And it's just actually it's so funny in a way as well, you know. But he seemed to be like when people are standing off and I'm going to kill you and all this sort of stuff, he just seemed like he was bored by the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you want to fight, I don't want to fight you. Well, you have to fight me because I'll feel bad the rest of my life because you turned me down, you know. Oh, well, if you want to die, you die. And I mean, in Yojimbo,
it's such a common thing, isn't it?
With, he uses his, like, they're about a foot away from each other, and he just takes his sword out, and the other bloke hasn't got it out, and of course there's blood rushing everywhere, and he's dead.
It's over in a sec.
It's over in a sec, and you've got all these people watching him in the background, and they all want to follow him because he's a great swordsman. And he just turns around. What are you doing? You know, we want to follow you. Get away from me! I'll kill you. You know. And they're it's a bit like in
Seven Samurai.
In Howard, and in Forrest Gump, when all those blokes are following him, they're running because he runs, and they follow him, and he stops running. Yeah, I think you're being courageous making his face like that.
Yeah, well, I just there's an explosive energy in his looks, and just an intensity that I wanted to sort of exaggerate and play up on with the shapes. I thought it would be fun, you know.
It's funny.
More important than the likeness. I think.
would have liked to see him play Dick Tracy, personally.
Dick.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him play Dick Tracy.
Okay. Dick Tracy, the comic version of Dick Tracy.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. The comic version, because it's.
Yeah, well,
the early stuff was quite violent and very gritty, incredibly gritty.
Well, of course, I never even knew about that, except the way the strips were written. They were written in very short scenes, and you have to constantly read the Sunday papers.
They were daily strips.
Yeah. I think we didn't get it daily. We had it weekly, I think.
Yeah, well, you got the Sundays.
So the stories were even more delayed,
Yeah.
Whereas you could get away with that with Prince Valiant because you've got these big splash pages or splash scenes of castles and interesting things. With Dick Tracy, it's a bit of a... It's harder to get involved.
It was psychological too.
Yeah, but also by the time I was reading Dick Tracy, I loved the character, but I couldn't get into the characters, the stories so much, because I didn't grow up with the 1930s mentality of G-men and gangsters and stuff like that, So that happened later on when I started to see shows and films.
Cagney and George Raft and...
even Untouchables, like things that you're now familiar with, these tropes. But back then, the tropes weren't as obvious as they are now. I mean, of course, today we can reference everything.
Well, we call them tropes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
We call them tropes.
Yeah.
Before they even, we weren't even aware that they're popular culture in many ways. So it's like it was a big mystery as to what is Dick Tracy referring to. And what made it worse, the cartoon that came out was an interesting cartoon. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but it was a funny cartoon.
Yeah.
And Dick Tracy only came in at the end to arrest everybody after Joe-Jitsu or one of the other characters got into trouble.
Well, it was perfect for animation because all the characters are already made up. You know what I mean?
That's the best part of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Was Flat Top and
the frown.
not Itchy Bro. That's another cartoon. It's Prune Face.
Yeah.
I mean, these are. He had a great sense of humour. Chester Gould, the writer and artist of the Dick Tracy show. Dick Tracy comic. Had a great sense of humour. So these characters...
I really recommend if you get hold of the early stuff,
the
from
films.
the comic strips.
Yeah.
Of little Orphan Annie and Dick Tracy. They're very gritty, very tough stories.
Well, they're different.
And the violence in Dick Tracy was pretty extraordinary. For a comic.
Yeah, they got away with it.
Yes.
They had to have violence because you're dealing with 1930s. These guys had Tommy guns and they were killing people on the streets.
Yeah.
They were in the papers apparently every day. Some innocent bystander got killed, with a crossfire. Yeah, thank you. From gang wars and also the police. The police themselves had to have Tommy guns to defend themselves. And of course, spray of bullets. You hit somebody with a Tommy gun, with a bullet, and they'll just keep firing away. It's like a war. It's like a war zone. It would have been terrifying to live back then in the cities. Chicago and places like that. They had real characters and real criminals that wouldn't. They don't care. They didn't care about anything else.
Scorsese and Lucas were really influenced by
Dick Tracy, Yojimbo.
No, by Kurosawa.
And
when he got too old to make films because they wouldn't, the insurance policies wouldn't come through because he was too old. They thought he'd died midstream. They came and they put the money up and they made films. He made his last 3 or 4 films because of them. But I mean, the fact that they wanted him to play Obi-Wan Kenobi and even Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Yeah, they wanted him to play
Darth Vader.
Vader. I call him Vader.
Yeah.
It's really Darkseid from.
You say Douglas Bader and Douglas Bader.
Oh no, I say Reach for the Sky.
Reach for the Sky.
No, what's that film called? The Douglas Bader thing? Yeah, Reach for the Sky, isn't it? It's a great film.
Kenneth Thingy. More.
Kenneth Thingy. Never heard of him.
Yeah. Well, he's Kenneth somebody.
The Dam Busters.
Yeah, that goomer.
Gooma. There it is again, folks. You heard it here
10
first.
points
Gooma.
if you know where Gooma comes from.
Well, it's Granny.
Yeah. I can't even find it on the Beverly Hillbillies.
I
don't even know. I'm sure she said it. I grew up with this.
It sounds
Who's
like
that Goomer?
sounds
Granny
like,
asking, who's that Goomer?
It sounds like a bad stew or something, you know.
Well, apparently, according to Mr. Wikipedia, it's
How do you know he's a Mister?
Yeah, it could be Miss. It could be. It comes from goober, which is like a slang name, slang term from America. But I don't know. Maybe my young ears picked up Goomer instead of goober. Maybe she said who was that goober. I don't know.
Well,
it's all a mystery to me.
There's millions of experts on the Beverly Hillbillies online. I can tell you straight away.
I just love I adored her personality. I love that. You know, someone would come in and into the story, and she's not there. Oh, she wasn't there. She doesn't know who it is, and so she just comes out with, who's that Goomer? Hush, Granny. That's a new fella that came a courting Ellie Mae. Well, this is how you get. This is how wars start. You put this in yesterday.
Yeah, because the other one was broken. What? Because you put the pencil in too far. That's how wars start.
Yeah, it's just disappearing. All right, so if I were you, I would. What films do you suggest people watch of?
Well, you have to see
Magnificent Seven.
You have to see the Seven Samurai. You just have to.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the Seven Samurai.
But a film he appeared in I think it was 1950 because it's called Rashomon, which is about a story told by three different people, three different ways.
Yep.
And he plays a bandit who supposedly rapes the woman. And it's another one of these films where it's raining and it's and the sun's out and all that sort of stuff. And also when they in his films they run through nature. They sort of tear through it. You know what I mean? They sort of puddles and things,
reeds and bamboo
and things are banging on them and all that sort of stuff. It's a very physical film. Throne of Blood we've talked about before, which is Macbeth shot. It's in black and white, and the end of it when the wood starts to move towards him, it's just extraordinary.
Yeah,
it's just extraordinary. He gets caught up in all the hail of arrows, and it's just. I mean, actually, if you look at it very closely, you figure out how they do it.
There's an iconic still of that.
At the
looks
time,
like a porcupine.
He's running around like a porcupine with all these arrows.
Yeah.
In
his death throes. But he's like a lion. If you imagine a lion, you hit a lion with 100 arrows, he'll kill you. He's so angry. In his death throes, he'll just rend you into little bits.
The Yakuza film, the first gangster film in Japan, was called The Drunken Angel. It's set in the current times, you know, in the 40s, 50s. High and Low.
Current times.
High and Low. Redbeard. I love Redbeard and Yojimbo. Sort of, it's like a funny western in a way. You know, there's a lot more humour. There's a lot of humour in his later stuff.
Yeah. Well, also in his early stuff, he played a character. I mean, the young character he played in Seven Samurai had a humorous touch to him as well. Yeah, he was just. He's like a dog following the.
That's right.
The other samurai. He wanted so much to be a samurai.
Yeah.
And, you know, later on, of course, we find out there's another reason why he wanted to be a samurai, not just admiration, but guilt. So it's a passionate story, an understory, which you become aware of.
You mean other people have guilt beside Catholics?
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
Well, it affects your honour. You see, he had no honour. This is why, one of the reasons why he wanted to become a samurai is to re-establish his honour, build up his manhood again, because of his shame
Yeah.
And that's the reason why the samurais decide to stay. They lose faith because they find out that the villagers have been pillaging the dead samurais and probably also killing the injured samurais on the battlefield. So this is like something. Well, we're fighting for you, and you actually do this to us. You've been doing this to us, to our fellow soldiers,
You're doing a great job.
Terrible.
You're doing a great job on the bridge.
The bridge.
Yeah, the bridge. Yeah.
The Ponte.
What do they call it?
The Ponte, pontification.
Well, that's Latin for bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he started an acting school.
But that would be
it folded after about 3 years because everybody wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
But it wasn't handled economically properly, so it went down the gurgler.
Yeah.
And in 2016, have a guess what happened?
He died?
No,
Died
I don't know
in
when
2005 or something.
When did he die?
95?
He died in... when did he die?
95? I don't know.
I haven't got that. No,
he
not
died.
In my head, he died.
He's no longer with us.
But he was 77 when he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a calculator. I'm no good with mathematics.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys can do the maths on that. It's not really that.
But have a guess what happened in 2016.
He had a statue.
No, he had a star.
Had a star on the Hollywood
Boulevard. Well, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? For the Americans.
Yeah. It's a long street.
It's the Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
It's a long street. I've stayed there many times. It's a long street.
Oh, did you go looking for anybody in particular?
Nope, not interested in stupid stars on
Really?
pavement. I'm interested in their work, not how small his hands were. Like, big deal.
His hands were so small. Look, Ethel. Look, his hands were so small. Look at his little feet. Oh.
Is this a statue?
What?
What?
No, they put their hands in the cement.
Oh, okay. Oh, at Grumman's. Okay.
No. The Hollywood. They put a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but
Yeah.
outside Grauman's, they stick them in
their
cement.
feet and their hands, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just, silly.
Well, and he inspired a lot of people to put their hands in wet cement all over the world.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, I mean, have you ever done it?
No.
You've never put your imprint in wet cement?
I've never been around cement where it's wet enough for me to leave a Kilroy was here. No, never done it. And I just, can't sort of see the thing. What are you going to come back 50 years later and say, that was me, that's my hand. Yeah, well, here's a fine for you, you bum. I don't know. I've never done things like that. It never sort of occurred to me to mark my territory. Have a
So you never
cement
did,
contest? No, I didn't.
You
do
never
that.
did graffiti?
No. It never occurred to me. I didn't grow up with graffiti artists, so we didn't really have that. It wasn't a thing. Didn't occur to anyone.
Oh, there's always stuff written on railway
We didn't.
walls,
Yeah, but not well. It was just tagging. It wasn't like it's art.
even before tagging, they had, stop the war and, all that stuff.
Yeah, but I was too young for that.
John
didn't get me.
Zarb and all sorts of stuff,
Who's that? Union.
Oh, no, John Zarb was a bloke who was jailed because he would go to Vietnam, I think.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Same as Simon Townsend. He actually became a name because of that.
Of not going to war.
Yeah, he refused to go to Vietnam.
What happened to him? He went to jail?
No, it was a publicity thing, and then that's what started his career. He became a name, you know.
Interesting. I've actually, I used to, I haven't met him, but I worked for his newspaper, the Zoot. I did a column, a comic when I was a little kid. I was about 13 or 14. So, yeah, he was a interesting character, Simon Townsend. I think what I might do is I might visit the black over here and sort of build up a contrast. I love the way his hair is so wayward and interesting.
Yeah.
What's Billy Connolly say? All windswept and interesting.
Bolly.
So it's it's like a contrast. It's almost reflective. This sort of fuzziness of the hair. It's reflective of his personality that he's projecting. There it is. I'll use that. I hope this works better. I'm so glad I have a chance to draw Toshiro Mifune. He's definitely one of my heroes. There's something about samurais that resonate with Australians. We kind of grew up with the samurai TV
your
show.
generation you're talking about.
Didn't you have jam tins and things like that?
Well, I remember
into star knives.
We better not get you started on your experience as a samurai and
the jam tins
and your sister and your mum and all that sort of stuff, you know. Because we're talking about the television series called The Samurai.
Yeah, I love The Samurai.
Yeah.
But everybody did. The Phantom Agents.
It was just so different. It was nothing like it. You know, ninjas, throwing stars and jumping up on ceilings backwards and all that sort of stuff. It was just...
Yeah.
It was just, I mean...
It wasn't just the action, it was the... people keep talking about the action. The thing that struck me about it was just the acting, the performances of them. It was so intense. I've never seen anyone acting intense before.
And with
like
so
that.
much makeup. So much makeup.
But also...
What was the actor's name?
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he was huge in Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mum took my sister and me to see Shintaro.
That's it.
And the samurai at the...
That's Shintaro.
At the Horden Pavilion.
That's not his real name, but is it?
No.
Yeah.
Michael someone. I can't remember.
Michael someone. It's called Michael someone.
Yeah, Michael someone.
What? His real name was Michael something? You're kidding?
I think so.
You think so? Okay. Oh.
Well, we had... I can't remember. I can't remember the exact... He had an English name. He had a Japanese name, but a lot of Japanese actors had English versions of their name, which they used.
Same as Chinese people.
Well, they had an English version of their name, which they like to use. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, my mother took us there, me and my sister, and my sister was kind of like, not that interested in it, but she got caught up in the excitement of the show. It was a really brilliant show with, smoke bombs and things like that, and a lot of, drums. They had the taiko drums, and it was really exciting and dramatic, and the kids were going nuts. They were going berserk. And of course, they all lined up outside to see the motorcade go, and they slowed the motorcade down. So Shintaro would shake hands with the people, as they drove past. They drove really, really slowly in an open saloon car, and my mother, who was quite annoyed at having to take us to Shintaro. She got free tickets, but she's quite like, it's such a waste of time. I'm so bored with this thing. She didn't say anything during the actual show itself. I mean, not that I would have paid much attention anyway because I was watching the show so intently. But as soon as she was in arm's reach of Shintaro, she dived over my sister, squashed her. My sister had this hat that she bought for the occasion, and a sun hat. It was, very expensive and stuff. She just jumped on top of her head and reached out and grabbed Shintaro by the arm, and he was shocked. He was like, "Whoa, whoa, thank you very much." But it was such a shock. Even my sister was so surprised. She was like not even angry. She just like, "Well, I've lost my hat now." But
but she went to school on Monday and told everybody that Shintaro shook her mum's hand, or the other way around.
The other way around.
Yeah, well.
But no one had the temerity to do that. No one did that.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you? Welcome to Australia. Thank you very much. This sort of stuff. And people shaking his hands gently and things like that.
He couldn't speak English, could he?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. They have a translator on stage, wouldn't they?
He didn't speak. They had a commentator.
Yeah, explaining what's going on.
I think it was a wrestling commentator.
Oh.
So it was really, dramatic.
Where'd you see it?
The Hordern Pavilion.
Oh, well, they had wrestling there.
Rushcutters Bay. Yeah, I went there every Friday night with my father.
Smell like liniment?
No, we didn't
sweat?
get that close to wrestlers.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to smell wrestlers. They look disgustingly stinky. No, all you could smell is peanuts and cigarettes and cigars and things that people would smoke.
Okay.
Very interesting thing. It was a bit overwhelming because all you see as a little kid are just suit pants. That's all you do. It's the world of suit pants and peanut shells on the ground, and that's it. But getting back to Toshiro Mifune, I find
really
this
good.
so
really
incredibly
like
strong and fascinating.
I like the effect of that. That's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
So, he is such a inspiring personality.
Oh, yeah.
Actor. Very, very
If you see one Japanese film in your whole lifetime, you have to see Seven Samurai. And it was made in 1950, wasn't it? Pretty early.
Yeah. Yeah. So it had a lot of incredible art to it. This guy, the director, is unbelievable. What can you say about him? It's like he's like a painter, except by film. There's on YouTube, if you were to YouTube him,
he actually made a film about Van Gogh.
Moving composition.
I think his last film was about Van Gogh. And have a guess who played Van Gogh? Martin Scorsese.
Oh, right. See, I'm not that aware of his later stuff. It's just that he just left a really strong impression on my
great film
on my mind.
Great filmmaker.
And
about 10 years ago,
we have the ability now. We're so spoiled
to
see these guys work. It's so wonderful to see all this stuff because this is the first time in history you can actually look at great filmmakers like Fritz Lang, M, Metropolis, things like that. You can actually look at them now.
It's interesting because the caricature looks like the outline is like a hole in the fence that he's pushing his face through. The actual face,
like a axe hole in the door, from The Shining.
No, I'm saying that. He's pushing his face through, but the actual face looks like it's in. It looks like a real face, and it's just that the outline you've shortened the outline to, like, for instance, you feel like his face goes around here, but you've cut it there.
There's a movement. See, you when you study animation, or gesture drawing and life drawing, you've got this sort of rhythm. Well, that's the wrong thing. We need to this one. You've got a sort of rhythm.
Yeah.
This S curve.
Yeah.
And it creates an interesting dimension for the eye, for the gaze.
Yeah.
The gaze of the eye. Give it a little bit of exercise. Take it for a little walk over the drawing. This
Well,
is Toshiro Mifune before, and this is after the
I'm
implants.
pretty sure you succeeded in this, although at first I'm thinking, I don't think he's going to get it today. I don't think but you have.
I've just pushed it into a different shape.
Yes.
So next time you're thinking of doing a caricature, why not do it as if, try to push it. Get out a little bit of Play-Doh, play with it. I want to do this,
Some people actually
good.
draw on photos. And
Photo bashing.
And they draw on the photos, and then they sort of cut the photo where they put their line.
Oh, that's an interesting
And they do
concept,
that sort of
yes.
technique, and they get
like
the
collage.
They get but it's one picture. It's not.
That's an interesting.
And
we might try
they get
that.
an
That's
idea of how
interesting-
they do it. you know?
That's a very interesting exercise to do that. I love that idea. It's reconstituting the appearance, just all the different features,
But get a
in
good
a different
photo-
configuration.
get a good
That's how you
photo
get
and-
jazz.
Is that how you get jazz?
Yeah. You throw all the notes in a basket, you empty it out on the floor, and you make a new configuration.
And that's jazz.
That's it. Okay, this is Frantz Kantor,
And Toshiro Mifune
and
Jim Bridges
and we'll catch you
on the flip side.
on the flip side. Bye
Dun,
bye.
dun, 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 dun.